business. It's business time. Hang tight, we're gonna get into the business right here in a couple minutes. Baby, baby. It's business. It's business time. All right, welcome to a very special episode of It's Business Time. We are here on location at Theater N with the executive director, Andrew Larason. Thank you so much for, one, for joining us in this series, and for two, understanding that sometimes there are technical issues, and that's never a problem. It's an opportunity,
yeah, that's right.
It's an opportunity to see this wonderful venue, this wonderful space, this community building, and just kind of get into it. Now, real quick, though, we do want to thank Stitch House for hosting generally and having us generally. We were there on Wednesday. We recorded some stuff, but very much in the theme of business and small business. Things don't always go exactly like you planned, and that video didn't turn out. It got a little bit corrupted because of memory, but it gives us an excuse to come here on location, follow up with the executive director of Theater N. And again, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thanks for coming out.
And I hope that I can keep the questions fresh, despite asking a couple of them again. But as you know from the first time we did this, this series is largely for small business owners, artists, musicians, folks who are working into the scene, and anything they can learn from people like yourself who have been doing these things for a while is it gives them that little bit of a leg up. And now, what we were talking about before on Wednesday, and kind of some of your background, I do want to go back there, kind of tell a story of how you got here to Theater N, and then what Theater N is doing right now for the community, for artists, musicians, individuals. So Andrew, take us back to what kind of got you headed in this direction.
Well, I'm going to take us pretty far back.
Okay,
We'll
please.
Start back in fourth grade.
Oh.
Yes, that was the moment when I realized I knew what I wanted to do as a career. I wanted to be an animator for Disney.
Yeah,
and I put all my energy, all my time. I would run home from school and just start drawing and drawing. And at some point, I was not ready to tell the stories that I wanted because I didn't have the equipment, the technology, the money. So I said, well, what's the closest thing I can do? It's live theater. So in high school, I got involved with live theater in Middletown, Delaware at the Everett. And that brought me into college. I studied theater production at the University of Delaware.
Nice. Locals.
Yep. Did a lot of stuff with the PTTP and learned a lot. And that took me on to grad school. I actually studied anthropology. I have a master's in anthropology.
Nice.
And while I was doing that, I also studied film, took film classes, and did film projects all around Nashville. And within that community, I met the right people who were doing projects, music videos, documentaries. And I worked on a documentary project called La Camioneta. That was an amazing experience. I don't often say this, but that summer we filmed in Guatemala was probably the best summer of my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that really got me solidified into the film scene. I got more interested in filmmakers and anything that's going on project-wise. So
the aha moment, if you will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So that was the first big film project I did. I came back to Delaware ready to do independent videography and all that, and I learned really quickly that I didn't know a lot about the business side of it. I had some of the skills, but I was a little shaky. So I ended up getting a job at Apple, and my goal was to teach how to edit film because I knew this.
Right.
That Apple path took me into operations. I ended up doing operations for 3 different stores in this area, the Philly market. And that operations job took me into corporate world. And that was JP Morgan. And that was a tough job for me.
Yeah.
I sat there at a desk every day thinking, what am I doing?
Right.
This is not artistic. This is not animation. This is not theatrical.
Right.
And it was at that time that I learned about The Mill, which is here in Wilmington, Delaware. It's a co-working space.
Right.
And it seemed like a good team. It seemed like a place where I could really flex my skills. So I joined that. And that Mill co-working space is actually in the same building as this theater.
Yeah.
Which is what led me to this space.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I love this through line. I also like that we kind of had that first round of conversations, and already, you're telling this story with more texture. than the first time, right? Because you've had a chance to think about things and kind of frame some of that. And I love that because the through line of kind of feeling like that response back, feeling that light up, like the trip to Guatemala or the project in Guatemala, heading through to for me, I love Apple products. They are very creative and intuitive for creatives, right? And then having that kind of like offset where, I'm sure you were getting some benefits. Anytime you work in the corporate environment, there's a reason places are successful, right?
Yes.
It's because they have great organization, they have, great training programs, things like that. And just kind of seeing that through line that brings you back to the arts and music scene. What's the saying? Like sometimes you have to leave home to learn what it is and then return to find it.
Yes.
But yeah, so that brought you back, and then the mill as well is something you mentioned.
Correct.
I had the pleasure of getting to see one of the locations recently. I can't remember who gave me the tour, but
Oh yeah, some guy with long hair.
yeah. But okay, so you're at the mill, and then how did you get connected to Theater End?
So, the building itself,
Mm-hmm.
the theater's been in the building for 21 years.
Mm-hmm.
Started by the city. Mayor Baker walked by one day. He said, this space would be great for a theater.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. And the city ran it for a few years. After that, it became a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in a meeting where the theater was at a place where it was about to be closed.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have someone to pick it up and keep it going.
Do you mind sharing how did you get to that meeting?
So it was a team meeting with people that run the building.
Okay.
Part of it was the co-working team.
Okay.
Because
gotcha.
we are in this building, we often...
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So the question came up, what do we do with Theater End? Do we just shut it down? Do we close it?
Mm-hmm.
Does someone want to run it? Do we know someone?
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there thinking, you don't have the time to do this. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. But slowly my hand went up. I was like, I was watching other people just in case, but my hand was the one that was up.
Yeah.
So they said, great. Yeah, you have a background in theater production and film. You're the perfect match. So
yeah. Wow.
that's how it fell into my lap.
Yeah, and the reason I ask, how did you wind up in that meeting is because oftentimes I'll talk to people about how did you get on this path or that path, and they'll say things like fate, or they'll say something like it was destined, or I found myself in that position, which is great and obviously true, right? For some people, but it's not repeatable.
Yeah.
It's not something that someone who's learning how to run their own theater one day.
Yeah.
How do they wind up in that meeting?
Right.
Well, find community spaces, try and get into those meetings and get that opportunity to get your hand up.
Yep.
And so that's a lot of the why. Like, how did you wind up in that?
No,
and,
you're right. I
'cause-
think a big part of it is being willing and ready to say yes.
Yeah.
Like put yourself in a place where you feel like you're being fostered and all these things. And that's what that meeting was for me. I was there.
Yeah.
And then I was willing to say yes.
Yeah. And even though you felt you might not have the time for it, you were like, this is something I'm going to make time for as
It's
a
important.
priority thing. Yeah, I absolutely get that. I often have this little voice in my head when I feel I have a down week that's saying you can have a down week now, or you can get ahead so that when an opportunity comes along, you actually have time to jump on that opportunity. And so it's brave, a lot of entrepreneur stuff, a lot of opportunities in business and growth. It does take some bravery to say, you know what, I'm going to put myself out there. I might not have all the time in the world, but I'm going to try and make this work.
Find a way. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then what year was that meeting happened, or that kind of transition?
Yeah.
began?
So that was actually right at the beginning of COVID. So 2020.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
Yep. That decision was made, and I said, let's figure out what's going on with COVID first.
Mm-hmm.
And we reopened the theater on July 30th that year.
Right.
So we started doing outdoor movies, things just to kind of be safe and figure out who's coming out to movies, what does our audience look like now,
Yeah.
has it changed?
Dipping the toe back in.
Yep.
Yeah. Very cool. And the response, that was enough to kind of keep rolling and start to. The response was good.
It was great. People
yeah.
actually thanked us. They're like, "Thank you for giving us a place to go." And we were safe about it. We roped off rows and had people wear masks and all that. But people were just so eager to get out of the house, and this was a safe place.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, so here's a really cool thing about being on location. I want to get into your events calendar. I want to get into everything you guys are doing right now, and kind of like what you know what? Let's do a little on the 3 years, walk our way up, and then we're going to do something very special here that we can only do on location. We're going to have Andrew give us a little bit of a tour of the facility. We're going to go downstairs. You're going to see a little bit of a cut here. I don't normally edit, but the problem that happened Wednesday created an opportunity to do these fun things.
Take some risks.
so COVID happened. Tell me a little bit about like the programming between COVID up to kind of this year.
Okay.
And also too, this might be a good time to give me just a little bit of a peek into the world of the executive director, the emails, the contacts, what we call like a director of growth. Whenever you're in a position like I always think like growth is somewhere on the title, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, what was those 3 years like from when you started as executive director, and then maybe a little peek into like what it takes to run a place like this.
Sure. So that first year, just trying to figure out what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Are people ready to come back to the movies? How long is this going to be? We had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So part of our mission here at Theater N is to always give a stage and a screen to artists of Wilmington, to Delaware. And we said, well, let's focus on that a bit more. We'll still do movies, but there are artists right now that, their bread and butter is playing music, and right now they don't have places to go.
Yeah.
Let's give them a place. So we invested some money in equipment, some camera equipment, lighting equipment, and we scheduled artists to come on the stage. We set up Zoom. People can join virtually and tip through PayPal, Venmo, and just get those artists a way to share their music.
Yeah.
So a big part of that first year was just being creative with our space and really focusing on that. Second and third year, people started coming back to the movies. So we started going back to some normal programming, but we hung on to that music. We added comedy. We're at a point where we're doing Rocky Horror every month.
Yeah.
And that was something
great.
we couldn't do that first year.
And now we're going to get into the whole calendar of events, but I'm trying to like recall some of the better parts we talked about on Wednesday. So you said you're doing Rocky Horror. Is that like a first Saturday or for like how do people find the Rocky Horror? 'Cause
yeah, thank you.
And then also like the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You had mentioned a little bit of that schedule on Wednesday as well.
So Rocky Horror is once a month, and it's the final Friday of every month.
Final Friday.
Sometimes we call it Freaky Final Friday or Final Friday with Freddy. Have fun with it. And then we also have every month we have live music. That's third Thursdays.
Okay.
And then we start our month on the first Friday of every month with comedy.
Okay.
And then weekends are our movies.
Okay, got you. Awesome. I know I'm jumping a little bit ahead here, but at this point, let's take a little walk through the theater. Let's see what's available to people, and then we're gonna talk about Thai Fest coming up this Saturday.
Yes.
Very great example of kind of the breadth of different events you guys do here. So do you mind giving us a quick tour?
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm happy to.
We'll see you guys here in a minute.
Here we are at the Nemours building, right in the plaza between the Brandywine and Nemours. We got 10th and 11th Street here, and Tatton going right through. This entrance right here takes us to Nemours. Let's check out the theater. So our theater is located down by the guard's desk. If you ever need the elevator, you can talk to the guard. So here is our main entrance to the theater. You'll see our sign, Theater N, and we're gonna go right up the stairs, floor 1. So this is our main lobby on floor 1. We've got all our posters and events being advertised. And you just step right in here to get tickets and concessions into our theater. We offer space to local artists to present their art to our patrons. This month we have Brandon from Baltimore sharing his art. And we've got concessions, beer, liquor, popcorn, all the good stuff. Let's check out the space. Our theater is equipped with 220 plush seats for your comfort. Come on out for the movies, the comedy, the music. It all happens right here, right on this stage.
that's Theater N. Would you like some popcorn?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Love the on location. Get some free popcorn with the tour. So, very cool space. Very cool space. Thank you again for showing. And again, you know, I love kind of making a problem into an opportunity by we wouldn't have gotten to see the theater had I not messed up the footage.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Right. And so, Andrew, again, thank you for showing me the theater. Let's jump a little bit here. Make sure before we get going, it's always a good idea to eat popcorn when you're having a conversation, but make sure to get going with your event schedule.
Yes.
So before we get going, we get to hear some of the other stuff that you guys are doing. I know tomorrow, so today is Friday. We normally record these on Wednesday, but because we're doing the redo, today's Friday. Tomorrow is going to be Thai Fest and featuring Simply Sound Vibrations. They're a meditation group. We got Shug Daniels, one of the more notable artists in our area, Fig 90 Comedy. Of course, we have Ty Mathis headlining the fest, and then there's an open jam sesh at the end. So bring your instruments, bring your family. It's a family-friendly event. It is tomorrow, January 27th from 3 to 7 p.m., and what I love about this event, I mean, in addition to us both being good friends with Ty, well, what I love about the event is it's such a great example of what is possible with a space like this.
Yes.
Do you mind talking just a little bit on like some of the, you know, obviously as a theater you do film, but some of the non-film events that you guys do here at location. Thai Fest obviously being one.
Yes, yeah. So we welcome in local artists every month, and it's everything from jazz to funk. It's Third Thursday Showcase, and it's just always different. And it's always exciting to see local talent here being shared.
And you can check out their event calendar right here at theatern.com. Yeah, sorry.
No, thank you. Other things that we do here is local comedy. So once a month, we start off with a competition. We invite 6 comedians out. They compete for the best laughs, and then we get some headliners up there. And they're always Philly, Wilmington, maybe New York based. But we're just happy to bring in some good talent and share it with Wilmington.
Nice. So the Thursdays is Third Thursdays is comedy.
Yes.
Night. And
nope, sorry. Third Thursday's music.
Third Thursday's music.
Yep.
I'm sorry about that.
We went out of order.
Yeah. Third Thursday's music.
Yeah.
And then the comedy night is...
That's the first Friday. It's actually the Art Loop night. So people like to go to the Art Loop and then come over for some comedy.
Perfect. Yeah. I love it. Now that's community building right now where, you know, whenever I'm like trying to book what we call a vertical in the industry, which is like an every week thing or every month thing, you know, I have to look at all my friends' calendars and make sure that I'm not conflicting with others. So I love it when there's an event like downtown Wilmington and then something to do afterwards. So, you know, that's a great kind of continuity there. So here we are all caught up, what you guys are doing now. You know, before we wrap up, give me a little bit of like kind of now we did talk a lot more about this on Wednesday, like your ideal show or your dream show. But in addition to like what your ideal show might be, give me a little bit of what you see coming down the pipeline for Theater N the next year or so, or any events that maybe people in our community here could help you put on, something that you've been thinking about.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot, but it wouldn't be fair to do a double interview
right,
not have at least one moment where
let's see.
You can also reference what we talked about on Wednesday in terms of your ideas.
Yeah, big ideas, always tossing things around. Sometimes it's hard to talk about ideas because they're just an idea, and I don't want to put it out there until we know it's going to happen. But this is what I'm willing to put out there because I want to see it happen.
Okay.
So other years for Cinco de Mayo, we've had comedy shows or we've had cultural fests. This year, what we would like to do is have Cinco de Mario. And the whole plan is to get Mario up on the big screen, Super Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, and just spend a day hanging out, playing games, eating silly food like spaghetti tacos or whatever we want to do.
Yeah, I love it. It's me, Cinco de Mario.
Perfect.
Sorry, everyone.
But that's like, it's a great space to do things like that. You know, we don't have to just do movies and music. We can bring in other types of art, video game art. Look at other patrons.
And that's a lot of, you know, I'm glad you mention that one as well, because that's a lot of really what I want to get at here is that this is a small business podcast, right? This isn't like a spotlight on theaters podcast, right? And in that vein, you guys are doing so much, and there's so much opportunity here, community building, everything from local talented artists doing festivals to, a Super Smash Brothers tournament to Rocky Horror Picture Show to films, all those types of things. It's such a wide array and an opportunity for the businesses out there if they want to host an event like that, you're a phone call away. And,
That's right.
And I mean, that's how this all happened too, is I picked up the phone, I called, and you answered, and here we are, and that to me is a lot of what is so great about small business and local business too, is that you don't have to go through a corporate phone tree. I'm not even going to tell. I almost broke into what I just dealt with today in that, but just as an example of two different business models. Do you guys do like any kind of like business events here? Do you ever have like speakers or things
absolutely.
like that? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we have TED Talks comes in here.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha.
And that's a few times a year. We have TED Talks. We have a local one called Grit Talks, which is focused on businessmen.
Yeah.
And they come and talk about the things that they work through to accomplish what they've done.
Right. Right.
We also rent it out for corporate events. Like we've had Delaware State in here doing presentations, and we have lawyers conventions in here. Like we see so many different people come through these doors.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, because so much of business does happen in the community spaces. You can have the greatest product in the world, no one is ever going to know about it unless you go out there and tell people.
Right.
And so I love that we got a chance to feature such a wonderful community space here. Again, Andrew, thank you so much for sitting a second time for It's Business Time, working with me on this, and also, of course, showing your beautiful theater here and all the things that we can do with a space like this. So thanks again for joining us. Is there anything else that you wanted to add here? I know you've had two opportunities to do it.
Well, I'll just say that for me, Theater N is very special, but it really comes down to the people, whether it's our employees, our volunteers, our patrons. It's a small business, and we know who you are. We know your name. We know your face. You know us. And to me, that's really special. And we're just always focused on building those relationships. So that's what I really appreciate about this place.
Awesome. You just reminded me of one last thing from Wednesday is you do a lot of your marketing through email lists.
Yes.
So make sure to check out Theater and their website, sign up, subscribe, follow along so that you can see all of their events. You can follow along. You can be part of that community building as well. And Andrew, thanks again so much for doing this.
Thank you so much.
That's it for week 19 of It's Business Time here at Theater N, a very special episode. And continue to have a great new year, everybody, and we will see you next week. It's business.